UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. I'm your intrepid host, Marzulli. Welcome to another episode of UFO Update, and we'll be getting into the story in just a little bit, but first a word from our trusted sponsor. Do you want to take control of your financial future but don't know where to start? Noble Gold Investments understands, folks. We've invested with them. So, they're good people, and I'm glad we did it. Okay, investing in precious metal may sound confusing, but the team at Noble Gold Investments makes it easy. At least they did for us, and I'm sure they'll do it for you. Let's hear from actual Noble Gold Investments customers. Quote, "The staff answered all my questions and helped me every step of the way." End of quote. No precious sales taxes, just honest guidance. Securing my future is less stressful thanks to Noble Gold expertise. So don't settle for financial uncertainty. They'll suggest options and see if you can diversify into gold and silver. Right now, Noble Gold Investments is offering a free 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful bullion coin for qualified accounts. Folks, don't settle for financial uncertainty. Noble Gold Investments has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. Why wait? Call now, 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Once again, 877-646-5347. I'll say one more thing, folks. We are, $33 trillion in debt? Might be time to get out of the paper money and buy some bullion. Even if it's a couple of coins, at least you've got something that's worth something. Once again, that number, 877-646-5347. This is on Area 51. I think you'll find it interesting. I have been out there several times, near the site, never actually to the base. You can't get on. And way back in the late 80s, Gary Schultz and Norio Hayakawa went out there with a Japanese film crew. I interviewed Gary Schultz, and you'll see that clip in just a second. But they caught on camera UFOs. You be the judge. Is this back-engineered UFOs like what we see from Philip Corso? In my opinion, the answer is a resounding yes. And we'll be getting into that. So, check it out. Here's the film.
Gary Schultz was one of the first people to actually go to what is known as Area 51. He visited the top-secret location back in the late 1980s. Schultz took what has become an iconic photograph showing what he believes is a UFO. Schultz, along with researcher Norio Hayakawa, took a Japanese film crew to the site, and they too filmed what can only be described as bizarre aerial phenomenon. Here, Gary gives L.A. Marzulli an exclusive interview for this film.
So, Gary, you've been involved in the UFO phenomenon for quite some time. We go back decades, and I actually attended one of your conferences, and we went out to Area 51, specifically the Little Alien, together, and there was a conference out there. But you have taken what I would term an iconic photograph. Tell us about that and how you shot that photograph.
When we went up there in December, it was Saturday night.
To Area 51.
Right, to the mailbox. Okay. 29th mile marker, Highway 375. What was interesting was, although we didn't see anything that night, we met some people. There were like 5 cars that night. We were to find out Wednesday was the hot night. We found that out later.
When you mean by the hot night, that's when they would test the craft.
According to Bob Lazar,
right,
who worked at the Secret Saucer facility at Papoose Lake, which is about 12 miles south of Groom Lake.
Okay.
This other dry lake bed called Papoose Lake, which is where they have the facility called S4, as opposed to Area 51 at Groom Lake, have determined that there's the least traffic on Highway 375 on Wednesday nights, for whatever reason. But they did a study and they determined that, so that's the night when they pull out all the stops. They test fly these craft. So we were up there like the Wednesday, February 28th, 1990.
This is before the X-Files. This is before we've got movies. I mean, no one knows what Area 51 is, and yet you're out there at the mailbox at a place, and you're looking at the skies and waiting. Pick up the story from there.
So I had a lawn chair in the trunk, and I got out my lawn chair and sat right next to Pearl. Goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sitting in my lawn chair." She says, "Whoa, gosh!" She's sitting in the car. She wants the protection of the car. I said, "No." I said, "If something's going to happen, I want to be right. I don't want any windshield. I have to jump out of the car. I want to be right here when it happens." So I'm sitting on this lawn chair. Suddenly, at about 7:30 that evening, all of a sudden, the first craft comes up. So the craft were coming up somewhere between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock that night. So they came up in succession, about 6 craft that night.
Really?
One after the other, about 45 minutes spaced apart. We saw 6 craft. I don't know whether it was craft number 2 or 3, somewhere in the earlier, definitely wasn't craft number 1. But craft number 2 or 3 suddenly came up and shot toward us and stopped. And that's when
How close was it, what you think, when it did that?
It's hard to say because it was dark, and I was taking pictures, and I had this Action Touch camera with 1600 ASA film, but apparently, we didn't see what the camera captured, because what we saw were intensely, brilliantly undulating lights, like a bright light that was pulsating.
Okay.
And so this craft came up and shot at us, and it's probably maybe 1,000 feet away.
Wow, that's really close.
Yeah, maybe a
Were
quarter
you able
mile.
to see a shape of this craft?
Like I said, all we saw was a pulsating ellipsoid,
Okay.
a white pulsating. But the beautiful thing is my camera just happened to apparently get it in the trough of its pulse.
Wow.
So it captured the outline of the craft.
And what was that outline? What did it look like?
Well, the picture speaks for itself.
Right.
It's your typical domed disc.
And that picture is when I was at the Little Alien several months back. That picture, or a copy of it, is right on the bulletin board.
Right.
So you see this craft. How did it leave the scene, Gary?
It shot back to where it had come up from, and then traveled left, right, and then eventually disappeared down below.
Did you
the
see
hills.
90-degree turns? Did this craft made 90-degree turns at all? Anything
Not
like that?
fast 90-degree turns. no.
Okay. Did the craft make any noise at all?
None.
No noise.
No noise.
So it definitely wasn't a helicopter.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Or
Or an airplane.
Right. No.
So, and it shot
Jet.
at you and hovered there for a while. How long did you observe it, let's say?
I'd say it seemed like an eternity, of course, but I'd say probably maybe 20, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Right.
Let me ask you something. You also brought you and Norio Hayakawa, who's also a researcher too, like yourself. You brought a Japanese film crew out. He did.
Yes.
So there's a clip where the UFO goes like this and it jumps through space. Comment on that.
Yes, and that footage is pretty amazing because this craft does what I call an instantaneous jog for about 1,000 feet. In other words, the craft is traveling on horizontally, and all of a sudden it disappears from one point, instantaneously reappears at another point about 1,000 feet displaced, and then continues traveling.
So it's actually jumping through space and
Right.
time, as it were. So the reason why I presented this today, and it's just a great interview with Gary, and I haven't seen him in a while. Hope he's doing okay. Gary and Pearl Schultz. But they were out there, and this is before Area 50, this is before the X-Files. And they were out there and filming this stuff from what they call the mailbox. Since then, the government has bought up all the land, so you can't really get close to it the way you could with when Gary and Norio and the crew are out there. But you can see that something's going on, and it's just not normal. It's not jets, it's not helicopters, it's not a blimp. These are UFOs. And that's why Gary's work was so important. And I really cut my teeth with Gary Schultz there for a while. I was out with him at the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada, years and years and years ago, and I met Bob Lazar there. This is before my first novel came out in 1999. And I was with 2 other gentlemen whom I have not seen in years, and one of them was very, very freaked out by the whole thing. So we left early. And I was bummed because I knew I was supposed to be there. It's my wheelhouse now, and this is 25, almost 30 years later. Everything is starting to come out. So Gary and Pearl Schultz were instrumental in the early days for me. Gary turned me on to a lot of different books and different people, and I just thank him publicly for that now. So I hope he's doing well. Hope Gary and Pearl are doing well. But there you go. And he was out there with Norio Hayakawa, Japanese film crew. You can't do that anymore. But you know what, folks? They're starting to roll this stuff out, which I find just incredible. So before I go, we're shipping this out now. You can go check it out. On the Trail of the Nephilim, Episode 8. We have 3 UFO films to get out before the end of the year. Roswell 1, Roswell 2, and of course, What is the Truth? That'll be 9 films in the series, and then we jump right back into On the Trail of the Nephilim, which will be number 9. We've already filmed it. We actually have the film in the can. We've already been, it's already there. We just got to get the post, but we've got 3 films ahead of it that we have to get out. Gil Zimmerman and I are working feverishly to get these out. And even though I'll be in Israel, Gil will still be working on the films. Of course, we've got further evidence right here. We are shipping this book. This is on UFOs. You're going to want to get this book. I'll just whet your appetite. Ricky Sorrells, he's one of the original witnesses at the Stevensville Lights. I got held up in the briars, and that's when I looked up and saw it, and it made no noise. The trees didn't move, but the leaves blow away. Dr. David Jacobs, who's interviewed many abductees. I went into a sort of shock tailspin as I realized the abductions were real. I said to myself, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, for about 6 months. Karina Sables, who is an abductee. They had me on a cold steel table and used different tools to do a variety of procedures to me. Lawrence Gray on seeing the Mothman. They were feathers, 2 wings that came to points. His eyes were sunk into his head, and he had what looked like a robe that went down into his hips. Let me just give you an idea of what's in this book. You're going to want to get it at lamarzulli.net. The Abduction Phenomena, Dr. David Jacobs, Karina Sables. The Stevensville Lights, Ricky Sorrell and Whitney White Ashley. She was the reporter. She passed away in 2021 from COVID. But she was the reporter that went with this. Chuck Zukowski and Butch Witowski. It's unbelievable. Cattle and human mutilations. Alien implants, Dr. Roger. Missing Time, Richard Shaw. UFO sightings, Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr., Matt and Laura, retired Major George Filer, Dr. Link Katai, who took photographs of the Phoenix Lights, and on it goes. And there's the whole section on the Mothman here. So you're going to want to check us out. Interview with Chuck Missler. What does it all mean? The Shroud of Turin, which is one of my favorite interviews I have ever done with Dr. Alan Wanger. So all this is in the book. You're going to want to check that out, folks. In fact, I reprinted that article with Dr. Wanger in our pp&s magazine this month. So there it is. Further evidence. You can avail yourselves of copies of these, lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. Thanks so much for watching UFO Update. If you've got great footage of a UFO, send it right here, lamarzulliprivate@gmail.com, lamarzulliprivate@gmail.com, or ufo@lamarzulli.net. I think it's UFOs. UFOs@lamarzulli.net. UFOs@lamarzulli.net. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away.